So to really understand and successfully complete the street art project, you have to spend some time with the sample street art analysis that I've created for you and shared with you via the link in the web lecture. And we'll share with you again and again at each stage in the process so you know exactly what we're doing. If you take a look at the sample post, you'll see right away that it has a formal structure. It includes a picture that I took myself when I went to the site, which is the first requirement, that you visit and document and study the art in its site. It includes an analysis of what that art says about one particular tension. And you'll notice that the tension that I explore is what the mural says about work as liberating and work as constraining in American culture. And you'll notice that I specifically answer the question. So I say in the very next sentence, the mural celebrates the dignity and liberating power of work, even as it dramatically denounces the mistreatment of farm workers and the ways that their work constrains, dehumanizes, and even destroys them. So notice that I write an analysis that begins early with a claim that answers the question, what does this mural say about the tension between work as constraining and work as liberating? And notice I use those exact phrases and words in my response. So when we talk about analyzing what a work of art, street art, says about an American tension, we're talking about one tension and one of the tensions from our tension list. And we're going to use those exact words in our analysis and have a very specific claim that says, this is what I think this work of art says about that tension. And then the rest of the analysis explains that claim by looking at specific details from the mural. And so as you look at this analysis, you can see that I mention the quote on the mural, that I mention images from the mural, and I connect that quote and those images back to the larger argument that I've made in my post about work is liberating and work is constraining. An important part of the project is that you go and look at the art and you document yourself being there. So you can see I've got pictures of myself live on the scene where I went to look at the mural at Chicano Park. And of course, I also have the picture of the mural itself. Finally, the third part of the project, and it's just as important as the others, is to create a works cited bibliography, an annotated bibliography that can help someone reading your post better understand how to view this work of art. So it's going to include actual sources that you mention. So you can see that I use sources in the piece and cite them. But it's also going to include background material that someone who's not familiar with the kind of art you're looking at could investigate. So there's a basic database article about Chicano murals. There is a TV show I found on YouTube. There are websites put together by local scholars and by members of the community itself, the Chicano Park Steering Committee. There's a scholarly website that gives the background and documentation of the source. And I've included a book from the MiraCosta Library. So there are databases, there are articles from databases, there are books, there are resources from the web. There's a full panoply of resources that show that I've carefully investigated this topic and have looked for both popular resources and academic and professional level resources that meet the highest requirements of credibility. You'll also notice that for each of these sources, I have created an annotation. And we're going to talk more about these annotations later, but they basically evaluate how effectively the source meets the highest criteria of academic and professional credibility. So the book, the library book, is obviously going to meet the highest level of credibility, but a website put together by members of the community is going to have a different kind of credibility. It's not going to be the academic and professional credibility. It's going to be credible because it's useful as a source of understanding the park and why it's there. So we want to be able to assess the credibility of sources, see which ones achieve the highest level of credibility, the ones that are most accepted in the academic and professional world, and then for sources that don't meet those levels, we're going to explain why they're important and why we use them. So there you have the three elements of the project really captured in the sample. First, that you're going to go visit and document and study the street art in its context. Second, you're going to write an analysis focused on one American cultural tension from our cultural tension list. You're going to articulate a specific claim about that tension and what the art says about the tension. And then you're going to examine specific details from the art and interpret for us how they support the claim that you've made about the meaning of the art. You're going to document that you were there, and you're going to provide a detailed bibliography that looks at a variety of sources from a variety of levels to help someone reading this analysis understand better the art that you're exploring. So please spend some time again and again and again as you work on this project, returning to this sample analysis and using it as a guide. See you in Blackboard.